brand new Galaxy Z Fold 7, and today we're going to do a quick unboxing and a brief comparison to the Fold 6, Fold 5, and Fold 4. Let's go ahead and get this unboxed. So taking the cover off, we see the phone right there in that beautiful blue. I really do love this color. Let me set that to the side for a second, and we'll take a look at what else you get in the box. Opening up this, we get a quick start guide, USB-C to USB-C cable, and a SIM ejector tool. Now let's go ahead and take the Fold 7 out of the box. We have this protective film on the top. Let's go ahead and peel that off. Oh, that one actually just kind of pops off. It's mostly soft material right here, and it's only sticky on the end. So not quite as satisfying of a peel, but it gets the job done. Now the first thing you'll notice when you open up the Fold 7 is the significant reduction to the crease. Like, it is barely noticeable now. Samsung really did a great job of making the crease significantly wider and less deep this year. Now, with the folds in general, you're never really going to run your fingers across the crease. It's just now when you do, I mean, you could really, you could barely feel this as you run your finger across. I'm really impressed with how well Samsung has done with reducing this crease. And I'd imagine that within the next couple generations, we might have no crease at all. The other thing you'll notice right away is that the cover display on the Galaxy Z Fold 7 is significantly larger than the previous generations. If I flip these over, even with the screen off, you can tell that there's a significant difference in size. But I'll get the screens on in a second so you guys can see that a little bit better. For now, I want to take a look at the thinness, because that's Samsung's big marketing point with the Fold 7, is just how thin it is. Even compared to the Fold 6, the Fold 7 is 26% slimmer, which is ridiculous how much slimmer it is in a single generation. If we look back at previous generations, like the Fold 5, you can see a huge reduction here. Like, this is even more significant, especially when you look at the thickness of the hinge. Like, even that has been dramatically reduced over just a couple generations. And comparing it to the Fold 4, like, that's just crazy how far we've come in the thinness of the device. Like, that is truly dramatic. And remember, the Fold 4 had this wedge shape too, so that's been gone for the past few generations. So when you compare the hinge on these two devices, like, just look at the width of the hinge right there. That's crazy. And the thickness of that hinge has also been dramatically reduced. And here's a side-by-side with the Fold 6 and Fold 7 open next to each other. Again, a huge difference in thickness. Here's the Fold 5 to the Fold 7. And here's the Fold 4 to the Fold 7. And realistically speaking, they can't get much smaller than this without having to just get rid of the USB-C port or create an entirely new type of port, because there's really no space above and below that at all. Now let's go ahead and turn the phone on and we'll compare the screen sizes. So as I'm setting this up, I'm seeing something brand new here. Typically, to register a fingerprint, you would just tap the fingerprint reader a bunch of times to register, but now you just have to swipe across it. So if I tap register here, I'm going to go ahead and just start swiping my finger around it without lifting my finger at all. And it says I can swipe in any direction, in any way, make sure we cover my entire finger for that fingerprint. So it's a really neat way to do it. Now that the Fold 7 set up, here's a screen difference to the Galaxy Z Fold 6. As you can see, it is a stitch taller, but also significantly wider. And having this wider screen, it makes it way easier to do things like text to now. It truly is a massive difference for day-to-day use. And here it is next to the Fold 5. Again, the screen is a bit taller and significantly wider, but one of the other really big things you'll notice here is the size of the left edge because of that significantly reduced hinge. Like, this dead space here is huge on the Fold 5. Especially when you compare it to the Fold 6, I put them right next to each other. Like, that is a lot of extra space for that hinge on the Fold 5. Compared to the Fold 4, again, we have a taller screen and a way wider screen on this device by comparison. And again, that hinge on the left really sticks out a ton on the Fold 4. Here's a comparison to the inner screens on the Fold 6 versus the Fold 7. One of the first things you'll notice probably right away is that there's an under-display camera here on the Fold 6. That under-display camera is gone on the Fold 7, but it's been replaced with a 10-megapixel camera, which is actually incredible. I'll show you guys some differences between this camera and this camera a little bit later in the video, but just know that that's not an under-display camera anymore, so you will always see that dot now. And here's a comparison of the screen width. And finishing up next to the Fold 4, again, the screen on the Fold 7 is a little bit taller and significantly wider. Comparing the crease between all of these, on the Fold 4 it was super noticeable, very deep crease. On the Fold 5 it was again very noticeable, very deep, maybe a minor improvement between these two. On the Fold 6 is where we first got a significant improvement, where it's still very noticeable, but not nearly as noticeable as the previous two generations. And the Fold 7 takes this to a whole new level. It's actually really hard to tell that there is a crease there. You can tell, but it is substantially better than any of the previous generations, especially compared to these two. Like, this feels awful now by comparison because it's clearly there. This is just way better. Samsung's done an excellent job because the hinge is actually wider. Like this valley there is a wider valley, and the slope is not quite as steep, and that helps really hide the crease. And even holding these up to the camera, you can see that the older versions of the Fold show the crease a whole lot more. And when we look at this on the Fold 7, it's really hard to see on camera. But an important thing to remember about the crease on pretty much all of these devices is that whenever you're looking directly at the screen and it's not tilted at an angle like this, you never see the crease during just normal use. And that will be especially true on the Fold 7. An interesting thing on the Fold 7 that you probably already noticed is that all of the applications are just on one half of the screen, and if I try to make this widget stretch across the middle, it just moves to the other side. And that's because if I pinch in here and go to the settings, you'll see an option here called cover screen mirroring. Apparently Samsung decided to have this on by default, and if you go ahead and tap this and turn it off, and then apply, when I go back to my home screen now, everything stretches all the way across. Now what home screen mirroring does is if I close the Fold and go to my home screen, this would be one half of the main display, and this would be the second half of the main display. So by not mirroring it, you're able to have completely different app setups on your cover screen versus your main display, and I highly recommend setting it up this way. The Fold 7 also gets 3 big upgrades with the cameras. Specifically, the main camera gets swapped out with a 200 megapixel sensor, which is the same that we have on the Galaxy S25 Ultra. And this is a really significant improvement because for years I've told people that if they want to get a lot of pictures or pictures are important to them, not to get the Fold because these cameras just really weren't that great. So finally having the main sensor be a premium level sensor is awesome. The ultra-wide camera also gets its own update in that it now has autofocus, which allows you to get some incredible macro shots for the first time on a Galaxy Fold device. And the third camera update is on the inner camera. So this used to be a 4 megapixel under display sensor. It now gets upgraded to a 10 megapixel sensor, which is the same size as the cover camera. And this really does make a significant difference. Just take a look at this photo that I took at the live event earlier. The difference between the Fold 6 and the Fold 7's inner camera is huge. And this upgraded sensor is great for if you're going to use your phone in flex mode for any sort of video chat, whether it be for conferences or just calling friends. Now you can have it propped up, have a great looking front-facing camera, and still use that full screen. Also, people are vacuuming outside, if you can hear that. And I don't have time in this video to do a deep dive comparison between all of the cameras on all of these devices, but I will be doing that deep dive comparison between these 3 devices in my upcoming review. And the reason I'm not including the Fold 4 is because it's a significant upgrade. Like, we already know it's going to be dramatic, so there's no sense going through all the pictures. It is going to be significantly better. Charge speeds also remain the same on the Fold 7 compared to the previous generation with 25 watt fast wireless charging. But we do still keep the wireless power share feature, so you can charge other devices like a smartwatch or just smaller electronics. But oddly, the Watch 7 does not work. It starts charging, and then after a few seconds you get this error saying that the phone is not compatible with charging the Galaxy Watch 7. So if you have something older than the Watch 7, it'll charge. Newer, it doesn't seem to. I'll have to try the Watch 8 when I get it out of the box. Future me here, you can see that I have my Galaxy Watch 6 Classic charging on the Fold 7. This is a Fold 4, and if I put the brand new Galaxy Watch on it, it starts charging. This is the Galaxy Watch 8, but then I get that same error message that I had with the Galaxy Watch 7. But if I take my 6 Classic and move it over here, it starts charging just fine. So it looks like this is a watch issue, not a phone issue. So reverse wireless charging does work on the Galaxy Z Fold 7. It's just that Galaxy watches don't support reverse wireless charging from the Galaxy Watch 7 and up. Fortunately, despite being significantly thinner, the Galaxy Fold 7 was able to keep the same 4400 mAh battery capacity as the Fold 6, which is refreshing to see because when Samsung made the Galaxy S25 Edge, their thinnest regular style candy bar style phone, they had to significantly reduce the battery size in this versus a similarly sized S25 Ultra. Now obviously it's way thinner, and a large part of shrinking this down was shrinking the battery. Now let's run a quick benchmark to see how these compare to each other, and something I noticed when laying these out is that the amount of wobble has increased significantly with each new generation, and now the wobble is just crazy because the cameras are so high up in the back and the phone is so thin that it just, the wobbling is pretty intense on these last two generations. Anyways, let's go ahead and start the test. And the reason I'm using Wildlife Extreme for this test is because it's the most intense test that can run on the previous devices. And as this test is running, you can clearly see that the older devices are struggling to keep up with any reasonable frame rate, and the Fold 6 and Fold 7 are really just crushing the frame rate, with the Fold 7 clearly ahead of all of them. And the results really do reflect that. So if I tip this up here, so you can see a nice steady increase going from generation to generation. Now let's run a CPU benchmark. And again, we see some improvements year over year, especially with the multi-core score. But even the single-core score got a significant bump this year compared to previous years. The weight of the Fold 7 has also been significantly reduced, all the way down to 215 grams. That's marginally lighter than the Galaxy S25 Ultra, which kind of makes sense because it's just about as thin as the S25 Ultra. And when holding two of them in your hand at the same time, you can immediately tell that this one is lighter, especially as you go further back to older generations. Like these really start to feel like bricks by comparison to the new one. So it's really impressive that Samsung was able to get a significantly larger screen, but significantly lighter device at the same time. In terms of the new software features that come with One UI 8, one of the biggest things I saw was in the Gallery app. When you use Samsung's AI photo editor to select things and either delete them or move them around, once you see the result, you can tap the Show Original text in the bottom right corner, and that will show a side-by-side of the before and after. And if you pinch in to zoom in on one of them, it actually zooms into the same area on the other one, so you can see exactly what the AI did to fill in different areas. It's not all good news with the Fold 7 though, because it no longer supports the S Pen. Now, if you followed my channel for a while, you'd know that I'm a huge fan of the S Pen. I actually just released a video showing a ton of incredible S Pen features that you can use on the Galaxy S25 Ultra, and all of those features would have also applied to the Galaxy Z Fold 7 if Samsung had just included the ability to use an S Pen. But they completely removed the digitizer this time in order to make it so thin, and because of that, there's just no S Pen support, and there won't be in the future either. And now that I've had a chance to talk to a bunch of different people about this, it seems pretty mixed. Some people are really upset about it, and some people really don't care. That's